Yeah, so thank you everyone for joining. It's been another productive month in the community. It's great to see some new faces in the meeting. This is a monthly meeting, and we have announcements. We cover recent releases. We hear about features in development, and we have a section at the end for discussion items and open discussion as well. All right, so please do note that this meeting is recorded and we archive the recordings on our YouTube channel, and we have notes on the wiki. This is our current TSC. Okay, before we get into the agenda for today and here are the communication channels we use in the community, um, can we do a quick round of intros? Um, Not least because there are some new faces. Um, can we start with you, Harel? You're at the top of my list here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Harel, OpenLineage committer, and I work for Datadog.
Thank you. Next is Julien Leden.
Hi, I'm Julian. I'm the OpenLineage project lead, and I'm Harald's colleague as of recently.
And next, Mark.
Assuming you mean me.
Yes.
Hello, my name is Mark Soul. I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm a principal engineer with Improving. We're a digital consultancy all around North America. And I'm actually doing a presentation at Kafka Current in Austin this year, where I'll be talking about Lineage. And I just learned about OpenLineage maybe a month or two ago, and I'm really impressed with how much knowledge you guys have built it in the domain. So I'm here to learn.
Well, welcome and thank you for joining. It's exciting to hear about your interest in Lineage and your upcoming talk.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Pavel?
Hello, I'm Pavel. I'm software engineer and getting data, working mostly on Spark integration and Flink integration in OpenLineage project. Happy to be here with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Maciej?
Hello, I'm software engineer at Getting Data and OpenLineage committer.
Thank you. Ernie?
Hi, Ernie Ostek on the product strategy team at Manta Software, now an IBM company.
Thank you. Shiri?
I'm Shiri Cabral. I'm a product manager for Lineage from ETL Tools and in charge of Calibra's OpenLineage integration.
Thank you. And next, Rahul?
Yeah, hi. I'm Rahul from Atlan, and I recently contributed a pre-flight check DAG, which I would like to speak about for maybe 5 minutes if if we can do this in this meeting after after the agenda is completed. So that will be really helpful.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining. That sounds great. And can I slot you in after number 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Great. And I'm Michael Robinson, community manager at Astronomer. So let's get into it. We have just a quick announcement followed by recent release 1.13.1 to talk about. Pavel is going to talk about, is going to give us an update rather, I think, about protobuf support in the Flink integration. And I have a recording from Kacper Muda about his work improving the project management we have on GitHub. And then we'll hear from Rahul about his exciting contribution of configuration check DAG to the project, followed by any discussion items you have in open discussion. So I just wanted to give folks a few brief insights into our recent panel. This was co-sponsored by Accenture and Confluent. It's called Open Standards for Data Lineage. And as you can see, we had panelists across the ecosystem here. It was hosted by Accenture, and they shared with us some statistics about participation that I wanted to relay. So we had 205 registrants, and of those, 87 attended. And as you can see, we had some new prospective adopters or folks who are interested in the lineage space, including HBSC, Nestle, Quest. So there's some new names here, I think, to most of us in the community, which is great to see. And then some geographical data here, which might be of interest. So just wanted to share that. This was a very cool event. So it's
Yeah,
nice.
it was really fun to do, and I think it was great list of attendees. So great insight from the people who were there. That was nice.
It was a interesting discussion afterward. A lot of engagement from someone at HSBC, and I want to give a shout out to Pavel for jumping in and answering questions that came up. So let me just turn briefly to the recent release here, 1.13.1. Speaking of Pavel, he contributed an improvement to the circuit breaker mechanism, adding a global timeout that stops the integration code when a configurable amount of time has elapsed. We also had a number of contributions from a relatively new contributor, Maxim Martinov, including to the clients. We have gzip compression now in HTTP transport, have improvements, these overloads in the transport.emit. And that transport.emit string is now deprecated. We have micrometer rather support in Flink. Mache added it to Spark already, I believe. So we're seeing more support for that across the project. Jakub, that's JDAR Dagrin, 2520. He contributed the generation of Python facets from JSON. And please note that the newly generated code uses a version 2 interface, which could cause breaking changes. Added support for YAML config files in the Spark Flink integrations, as well as the Java client. Our old friend Tomasz in 2613 added custom token provider support to Spark. And then we have a couple other contributions from Pavel in Spark and Flink, more work on the YAML support, and a job ownership facet in Spark and Flink. So there's the change from Maxim in the Java client to sync the Kinesis partition key format. But I wanted to highlight also some fixes here. We don't always talk about fixes, but there was a problem in the Python client that was causing OpenLineage client to crash because an empty file was creating an issue. And so now that's returning an empty dictionary. So if you were having problems with the Python client due to that, they're fixed. And then there was a null pointer exception error in Spark when using a query option reading from Snowflake, and that's been fixed as well. So thanks to all the contributors as always. We're on a roughly monthly cadence, but we've been releasing a bit faster than that because of requests from the community lately. So speaking of which, we have a release on deck this week. So next on the agenda is Pavel.
Yeah, so I would like to spend like a few minutes on the protobuf support in Flink. So protocol buffers are language neutral and platform neutral extensible mechanism for serializing structured data. And within PR 2482, we added the support to Flink integration for data on Kafka that is either read or written, but in the format of protobuf. And what does it mean that we added the support? It means that if you are having a Flink job that reads or writes such data, we are able to extract the schema of such data sets. And actually, I can show you another PR, which is not, oh, I cannot show. So another PR that was really helpful here is a PR 242548, I think. I hope you can see my screen. So it's the PR that changes the spec to allow nested struct field in schema dataset facet. And it's important because so far we're able just to, within the schema facet, to contain primitive types like the integer string. And within this change, we are able to store nested fields. So in this example, you see that the single field is of a type struct, and it has some other fields. So we can go deeper and deeper and deeper. There's another type like an array, which so far we weren't able to contain within the schema. And the third one is a map. So a map of key and values of different type. So that's a cool contribution, which was really useful for the protobuf stuff. So how is protobuf working? So if you're a developer, then probably you create the protofiles, which contain a definition of how your data is going to be structured. And based on this definition, you can generate the code in a language of your choice. So if you're a Flink developer, then by great chance it's Java. So these protofiles are compiled into Java classes. And if you write a Flink application, then if you write to Kafka, then you either serialize objects to protobuf, or if you read it, you deserialize it to protobuf classes. And this is where our integration comes into. So we look at the transformations, and if something serializes data, then we check what kind of objects are serialized, and we check if the serialized class is a protobuf class, so a class generated by a protobuf. If it's a deserialized method, then we check the return type and see if the return type is protobuf. And once we detect, hey, this class is generated by protobuf, we can list its fields and translate them into schema facet. And while doing it, we are able to detect the nested and more complex data types. And what I'm showing on the screen is a protobuf test event that I'm using for integration test. So the integration test creates a Flink application that is reading from such event types. And as you can see, it contains a map. It contains a repeated field. It should be somewhere. I cannot see it, but I checked before and it was here. So a repeated field in protobuf is kind of an array. Oh, here it is, the repeated field. And it also contains some level of nesting. So there's some sub event and sub event to see if we extract the schema facet correctly for such complex types. Yeah. So I think that's it. To sum up, if you're using Flink integration and you're reading or writing data to Kafka that is serialized with protobuf, we are able now to extract the schema facets really well. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
I like it, but no questions.
Oh, very cool. Thank you very much. Okay. Moving on. So let's cross our fingers that this recording will play and we can all hear and see the image.
Hi, I could not be at the meeting today, so I decided to do a short video about the changes I'd like to make to our GitHub.
The audio is gone.
Yeah, I typed I can hear, and immediately after it
Yeah,
stopped
Julian
playing.
thinks it. Michael, I think you need to unmute. Whoever's playing it needs to
So
unmute.
there's a
Yeah. Can you rewind it now a little bit? Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So you couldn't hear?
Yeah, and can you click the little at
And
the
full
bottom
screen,
right of the video? There's this,
Yeah.
this one. Yeah.
If you
Thank
if
you.
you mute yourself, Michael, we can't hear. It mutes everything, not just like your actual microphone. It mutes you.
Yeah, that was, yeah. Very smart. Okay, let's try again.
Hi, I could not be at the meeting today, so I decided to do a short video about the changes I'd like to make to our GitHub so that it's easier for users to create an issue, but also easier for us to maintain them. So let's get to it. So right now, when user is trying to create an issue, there are two possible templates, and I thought that it would be nice to have some more. So there is a PR 2664 that adds 4 new templates. You can see that basically it's adding some predefined title and labels so that it's easier for us to see what's going on and to classify them. I'm not sure how to test it properly on GitHub, so I decided to create a simple fork with those changes where you can see how it would look like. So when you create an issue in that fork, you can see that there are 6 templates right now. There is a bug report, doc issue, feature request, and the general issue template, which is basically a blank issue with comments and labels. So let's go through them quickly. So in the bug report, there is a bug prefix, there is a bug label already. There's some message to the user, and also some information that I think it would be good to have for any bug report. And I think if we include them here, there will be probably many less iterations, and that could possibly lead to a faster resolution time. So users should point us to the area of the repository where the error, the bug is located. So let's say a Python client, or maybe it's both in Python and Airflow integration. We can ask for an OpenLineage version or any other versions like Python, Airflow, Scala, whatever. We can ask about how the environment is configured. We can ask about any deployment details. So if somebody is using like Astronomer, or maybe they run Spark with Dataprog, they can provide that information here and also provide us with the version. And then it's a pretty common pattern. So basically what happened what do you think should happen instead, how we can reproduce it. I even made it required because I believe it's crucial for us to be able to reproduce the error. Yeah, and the rest is pretty much common. Then the doc issue, it's pretty similar to the general issue template. It has a prefix, a label, some comment for the user, and then it's just a blank template. The same with journal. It just don't have any prefix or label, but it has the comment. When you go to feature request, it's, I think, a pretty common pattern as well. So there's a label, there is a prefix here, there is a why question, there is a how question, and any related issue field, just to make the user check if there are already some issues related to it, so we can avoid duplicates. And those two I left pretty much unchanged. So that would be it for the new templates. And you could probably notice that all templates, maybe, but I'll have to check again. I added a new needs triage label, which is just a marker for us that this was just created and didn't have any attention from the committer yet. So whenever we see this label, we know that we need to look into it and assign proper labels to it just to classify the issue. So let's say we see a needs triage label here. Like, oh, okay, Kacper is trying to add something to the Python client. So we remove the needs triage, we add the client Python label and an enhancement label. And now we know that we know what this issue is about. So that's for the new issue templates and labels. And also when going through labels, I found out that there are some maybe outdated, maybe less used, but basically I think we could apply some organization here. So I also created an issue where I described that I would like to organize those labels, refresh them just so that they're more up to date and they do their job. So basically that we can manage all the issues easier. So there is a spreadsheet with all the current labels, with the count of the issue assigned, and there is my proposal on what we can do about it. So basically, you should remove some, rename most of it, just so that we can apply some kind of pattern. So basically, labels after the change could tell us what area of repository and the issue or the PR is about, what kind it is. So is it a bug or is it just a issue for the discussion? Is it a proposal or whatever? What language it uses? I believe it would be a less used one, but still nice to have. If there's some priority, we can also use label for it. We can also signify the state that the issue is in. So the needs triage one is the first one that the issue will get, but then we can go to want fix, duplicate, block, or whatever else we think about. This sheet is open for everybody. The link is here in the issue to 666. So if you'd like to leave a comment and maybe you have a better idea on how to do it, or maybe you want to add some more labels or remove some, please let me know. Any input here is valuable. So what next after those two changes? I think we could talk about naming convention for issues and pull requests, because if we have a good labels, then we probably can remove some of the markers we are using right now, like feature, Spark, Airflow, etc. Then maybe we can think about reviving milestones so that we can see easily where the code or a given change will end up or has ended up. For example, I could see that, okay, this PR is probably going to be released in 1.14, or maybe if I go through some old changes and wanted to see where the dbt Dremio integration is, I know that there's a like 1.14 milestone, so I need to install at least 1.14 to use it. And another thing I thought about is maybe reviving projects. So it's basically here GitHub projects, OpenLineage project, and it shows us the milestones, but also what's in progress, what's to do, and who's taking care of it. So it can give us a better understanding on what's actually happening in the project, who's working on what currently. And yeah, I think if this knowledge is easier to, if it's easier to access, then we can all profit. Maybe we can help each other. We can see what's going on, and yeah, I think it can be helpful. But that's for the future. For now, there's PR for the new issue templates, and there is an issue for some label changes. So please leave some feedback if you like, and thank you. I could not be at the meeting.
Yeah, and yeah, thanks to Kacper for this. He also wanted me to share a postscript. So the point of the issue template and the general template is to add the needs triage label and to provide a thank you text. But his thought was that we could also do this with CI, and that might be, you know, a good next step. And then in talking about milestones, now we can see where any given PR ended up in terms of the OpenLineage version by looking at the changelog. But a downside of this is that you have to look through the changelog to find the one PR you care about. So it might be easier to have that information directly in the PR. So those were some comments he wanted me to share.
I think the changelog and the milestone are kind of complementary. So if you want to see all the changes in current release or some other release, you can do this via changelog. But if you want to see where particular PR ended in, then the milestones are more convenient. So I think those are both different mappings and both are useful.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a great initiative, and thank you, Kacper, for taking that on.
I agree. I had only one comment that I posted in chat, but I think I agree pretty much with the rest of the changes.
Yeah, and I think reviving milestones is also a good idea. I think it's so. Of course, you know, we need to keep maintaining them properly, right? It's a little bit more work, but it's also a good way to show a bit in the future, you know, what everybody is planning to work on in the next months or something, and say, hey, those are the things we care about from the perspective of the contributor.
Yeah. And if you have other comments about this, you know, something occurs to you that that you'd like to share about this, you can I think a good place for it would be in Dev Discuss. And if you're not already in that Slack channel, it's a place for more specific discussion about in-progress issues and proposals and such. So if you don't know about that Slack channel, that's a good one to join, Dev Discuss. So next on the agenda is Rahul.
Hi. I won't be taking much time. Can I share my screen?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, hey everyone. Our team at Atlan actually identified an issue that after setting up OpenLineage and Airflow, there was no way to verify if that setup was correct or not. And then we came up with a very impactful solution that was a very simple one. Just run one simple Airflow DAG, and if that DAG succeeds, you can be 100% sure that OL setup that has been done is correct. And if the DAG fails, you will get some descriptive logs about what's going wrong and like how to fix it. And I have created a doc for this and published it over here. So here is the Preflight check DAG code. Just copy the code from here and paste it in your Airflow environment. It will be this one, OpenLineage Preflight check DAG. And let's run it once. Yeah. So I'll tell you what all it checks. It will check for if OL is enabled or not. And it will using environment variable or config variables, it'll check all those things. If Airflow library is installed, if OpenLineage library is installed or not, and based on versions, like we only support versions from 2.1 and above, Airflow versions. So it checks all those things. And even after doing all these checks, it even checks the connectivity. If it's Marquez instance, it checks the connectivity with Marquez instance and tells you if something is wrong. So for example, I ran this DAG. I can see something is wrong over here. The DAG failed. I can go to the graph view. I can see validate OL installation failed. And when I check the logs, I can see that the library is missing. It's not installed. So I quickly do this. I install the library. And after installation, I will quickly run this DAG again. I'll go over there, run this DAG again. And let's see what happens this time. Going to the graph view. Okay, now it's installed. Let's run it again. Yeah, now the validation succeeds. It even checks, it does not only check the configuration and environment variables. It extracts the listener and extracts what the listener is having. So like there's no way, like user can be 100% sure that it'll work. And to show how impactful this was, while development, we found this issue, and because of this DAG only, we were able to recognize this issue, and Kacper fixed it. And telling the like what all this DAG will support is it'll support all the Airflow versions, and it will support all the major Airflow distributions like Astronomer, Google Cloud Composer, and MWAA. So that was it. And over to you, Michael.